people, and we are live. Rise and shine. It is Green Nurse Kathleen and Sherry time. Welcome to the Green Nurse Podcast, where we bring you hope and inspiration for growth and healing. And we're going to start our podcast off with a little message from our CEO and founder, Elizabeth Mack.
Paradigm of healthcare.
The Green Nurse is a holistic cannabis nurse that teaches on the endocannabinoid system and the safe utilization of cannabis and other progressive tools to help people reach a better quality of life.
I'm the founder of Holistic Caring. We're based here in California, and we do educational programs and case management for patients on how to use cannabis therapeutically as a medicine.
We're also here to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high, hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing.
As the founder of Holistic Caring, I basically oversee the whole ship, and what we're doing is progressive education.
Cannabis actually supports all 11 organ systems, our immune system, and all the neurotransmitter signaling systems that give messages to tell our body to either do something or not do something. Because the plant was prohibited, it prevented health professionals, doctors and nurses from learning about cannabis as medicine.
I want to change the paradigm of healthcare and us paving the way into a new vanguard of medicine. And I'm excited to really bring this into light. There's a company called Cannabis that we're merging with, and we will now be doing global education.
It's about education, it's about empowerment, it's about teaching people how to feel good, bridging the gap from what they're not getting from traditional medicine, utilizing different plant medicines, adaptogens, tips, tricks, hugs, and nugs of information to support and nourish the most important system in our body.
And it's a lot of soul work, a lot of love, a lot of discipline, and meditation. I'm using my life work as a testimony to others to learn how they can be their own hero and then go help heal the world.
And we are, as nurses, the game changers.
Here we are. Good morning, everyone. Rise and shine. So happy to have you here this morning. I am so sorry, you all, that I missed yesterday, but y'all know we're in Mercury retrograde, and retrograde means you go backwards. And so what happened to me is I went backwards back to bed because I woke up in the middle of the night yesterday, early morning with a migraine headache. And the interesting thing about that was that I know what caused it. It was me not supporting and nourishing my endocannabinoid system. And it was me not paying attention to the cues that my body was giving me to slow down. And of course, I was green nurse on the go. And then basically what happened is if you don't rest to take care of yourself, your body will eventually force you. And that's what happened to me. I was forced to go back to bed and to really take care of myself. So welcome to the show. So excited to have Kathleen Graham from Michigan here with us. We are having co-hosts from all over the world, actually right now in the United States. And we have Green Nurse Kathleen. She is from Michigan. She is one of our nursing supervisor, and she is doing some amazing things out in Michigan. And I'm going to let her introduce herself and what she's doing in Michigan, and then we're going to hop right into the show. So thank you, Kathleen, for joining us this morning. You really add a lot of value, your skill set, your knowledge, your wisdom, your experience, and just the vast, rich experience that you bring as a nurse is really a gift to people that come to you for cannabis education. So I'm so happy to have you here on the show, and I'm going to shut up and I'm going to let you say hello.
Thank you so much for inviting me to co-host. I enjoy being with you. And speaking about Green Nurses on the Go, you can see I am in my vehicle. I am on the go across the state of Michigan. Today I will be over at one of the provisioning centers, which is what we call our dispensaries here, providing patient consultations or case management for people that want to find out about cannabis or CBD or cannabinoid therapy. And I enjoy what I do a lot.
Yes, you do. I know you do enjoy what you do a lot, and you just bring so much knowledge and passion and wisdom. And I'm really, really excited that we're going to be together next week. All of the nurses, all of the cool nurses. No, just kidding. All of the nurses that are part of the cannabis, or that are involved in cannabis. A lot of them belong to the American Cannabis Nurses Association, and we're having our yearly national conference, which is going to be in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And what I'm really excited about is Kathleen and I have created, actually Kathleen created, and I came in and just did some tweaks, hugs and nugs, and added a little bit of my flair to a poster presentation that we're presenting to the American Cannabis Nurses Association conference. So Kathleen, will you tell people a little bit about that and that labor of love?
Yes. When I was a hospice case manager, that's when I was introduced to the patients at the end of their life, and they were utilizing cannabis. And I started becoming curious as a nurse how it was affecting their end of life journey, both their complications and their successes. And so this poster presentation is based off 3 of those patients. Their names were changed for confidentiality, but it was talking about their journey and how cannabis affected them, and finding out that terpenes can affect somebody differently, and that having that right active ingredient list to meet your needs is really important, because if you don't get something that meets your needs, it could cause an exacerbation of your problems, like increase your anxiety while you're trying to manage your Crohn's disease, or vice
Right.
versa. And then we learned with one, she was a teenager and she wanted to participate in school. She didn't want to be high. And so that's when we learned about the different types of cannabis, where she could have a high CBD and a low THC, where she did not experience that high and was able to participate in school. And then another one that didn't want to smoke anything. Obviously, all of them don't want to smoke, but it was finding a tea to help. How can we make a product for him, or help him find a product that would work for him? And we found that a tea would really work for him. And so the poster is bringing together all of those experiences and helping our fellow nurses to understand the difference in the types of cannabis.
Yes. And I think it's just a wonderful presentation. And it's going to kind of lead into what we talk about today in a few minutes. You being a hospice case manager and all of the different things that you've done in the conventional system, and then how you're bridging it over to cannabis. So we're going to talk, because yesterday we were supposed to do a little bit of history, Throwback Thursday, and talk hospice, the history of hospice, which was going to lead into our topic today as to 2 other patients that are actually very close to you that have passed away, your mom and your dad. And we're going to talk about in a few minutes about how cannabis could have helped them at the end of life. But we're going to get started with our little morning love. And we do some readings, we pull some cards, we talk about a quote. And I'm just going to get back to just the basics of sometimes how I start my morning and what I need to do, just a big reminder of what I need to do to bring myself that peace that I'm looking for. So I remember at one point in time in my life when things were I was circling the drain. I've circled the drain of despair quite a few times, and I have had issues of suicidality surrounding chronic pain and chronic illness. And so I remember one point in my time, and I got on my knees, hands in the air, and I just said, I will do anything for peace. I will do anything for peace. And it was very interesting, the message that I got. And it was basically, peace begins with me. Okay. And so Green Nurse Denise showed me a mutra. And if she's there, she'll write about it. And it's really just a little mantra of something that you can say to yourself, just to remember that we do have the tools to do this, but we forget. Right. So I love this. And this is how I do it this morning, usually in the mornings now, because I combine cannabis with it. So I'll have a little nug ready, a little joint or a little dab or something ready. And it's peace begins with me. inhale, Ananda. And so it's just a very, very simple, and you don't have to have cannabis to use it, because if you think about it, what you're doing is you're changing your mindset, you're focusing, you're mindful in what you're doing. Peace begins with me, right? And then just the process of taking a deep breath, right? Opening up your lungs, opening up your airways, bringing more oxygen rich blood to your brain, right? That big deep breath, whether it be with cannabis or not, can truly 100% reset your central nervous system, right? We want to go from sympathetic to parasympathetic. We want to go into that resting mode. So oftentimes when you wake up in the morning, just remember, you do have the capability. Peace begins with me. The other thing too is we need to remember that we have a choice as to how we want to show up. So today I will remember I have a choice to be my favorite self. And when we say favorite self, it gives us grace. It gives us grace. It allows us to pull back when we feel like we're not being our favorite self in that moment and being our best self. So in this moment in time with what's going on in my life, what can I do to show up in the world to be my favorite and best self? And sometimes, right? Sometimes the answer is nothing. You need to go back to bed, right? And so these are the things that we want to discuss with you all. It's okay. It's all going to be okay, right? It's all going to be okay in the end. And if it's not the end, right? If it's not okay, it's not the end. There you go. That's what I like. In the end, everything will be okay. And, if it's not okay, then it's not the end. So we all are here on this journey. We are all here to walk each other home. So Kathleen, I know, peace begins with me. What is that? How does that feel to you? I know a lot of people are like, I don't feel fucking peaceful. This is bullshit.
I was thinking when you were saying that, how much that is a true statement. And it does begin with us. And that is the bottom line, self-care. If we are not balanced in us and we do not do our self-care, then how can we give to another to help them or care for them? And so when we have that balance and that peace and happiness inside of us, where we are doing everything we can to give to our body to support our endocannabinoid system, to help that homeostasis, it makes a lot of difference where we can show up to help people.
Yeah, so good. And so we get back to, I'm going to bring up a little hug and a nug. Green Nurse Denise Costello. She is an amazing foodie. She's one of our green nurses. She has the Energized Living Green Nurse Retreat. She is the one that is creating our events and our retreats for experiential learning and how to incorporate energy types of modalities, whether it be food, prayer, movement, sunshine, into our lives pairing with cannabis. So what she's doing is she's creating little videos. These are, we talk about, we're providing hugs and nugs of information. So Denise has created a foodie video, and I'm going to put it up right now so you guys can see, and then we're going to lead into today's topic. So thank you so much, Denise. Your video is awesome, and I can't wait to share it. Here we go. FOODIE Friday.
Love this soup because it's so quick, so easy. The red lentils you don't have to pre-cook. You just plop them in and voila, you're done. Oh my goodness, I wish you could smell this. So good.
There we go.
It's red lentil, spinach, tomato, celery, onion, garlic. What else is in there?
right. Denise, Green Nurse Denise, thank you so much for that video. We're going to put the entire video up later. We'll have it up on the page so you guys can refer back to it. So that way you don't have to come back and watch this whole thing over again. If you don't want to, we'll put the whole video up. And I've been spending a lot of time with Denise lately and working the energized living. And we're going to be bringing that like to the forefront even more. And so one of the pillars of her program is about nutrient dense foods, right? And so we need nutrition. We are a country that is overfed and undernourished. And we need to really pay attention to what we put into our body, because not only is that going to affect all of our other systems, but it also affects how cannabis works with us in our bodies. So she's really have taught me little hugs and nugs as we all were very busy. And she's taught me different ways about how to make foods, pair them together. And if you want, you can add cannabis to it too. A little bit of infused olive oil, a little bit of infused butter. If you have a water-soluble CBD, depending upon your ingredients, you can add cannabinoids into your food to bring it make it more nutritious to support your endocannabinoid system. So thank you so much, Denise, for that video. I absolutely love it. And we're going to continue doing those weekly. So here we are. We're going to get back to hospice, end-of-life care. And we're just going to talk, I'm going to talk briefly about the history of hospice. It's a really, really long timeline, but we're going to just start a little bit in the beginning. And then I just want to, give recognition, to our elders, to our parents. Kathleen's mom and dad died. She's not celebrating, but remembering their anniversary of their death. Her father died on October 1st, and her mother died on October 4th. Years ago.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Sherry. Their birthday, October 1st and October.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Sorry, I screwed that one up. So their birthday. So they've died. Your mother just died recently. Wasn't that a year ago? About a year ago?
Yep, a year ago, September. And then my dad died in July many years ago.
Okay. So their birthday. So that's kind of cool. So October 1st, October 4th. And so we're remembering them. You think about it, you enter into this world is your birthday, and then you exit this world, and it's your birthday into another realm. So anyway, so we're going to get into that. So the history of hospice. I did hospice nursing for a few years when I was in the conventional system. I did it for about 5 years, and it was really, really powerful way of working with patients. I felt like I was very honored to be able to be in their presence at a very vulnerable time, a very vulnerable moment, as they are exiting out of this world. And it looks really different than entering into this world for sure. So the history of hospice, back in 1963, and you're going to say the name a little bit better than me, Dom Cicely Saunders. Is it Dom?
Dom or Dame, either one. We'll accept it. It was right. Cicely Saunders, yes.
Okay, so Dom Cicely Saunders introduces the idea of specialized care for the dying to the United States in a lecture at Yale University. And this was back in 1963. So Florence Wald, the dean of the Yale School of Nursing, invites Dame Cicely Saunders to become a visiting faculty member. And this was 2 years later in 1965. So you can see we're progressing. Their end-of-life care is just as important as all of life care. So 1967, Dame Cicely Saunders creates St. Christopher's Hospice in the United Kingdom. Eventually, it will get over here. So in 1968, Florence Wald takes a sabbatical from Yale to work at St. Christopher's Hospice. As you can see, it's starting to evolve. And then even in 1968, Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote On Death and Dying, and she identified 5 stages through which many terminally ill patients progress. And we're going to talk about those next week with Kathleen. We're going to point them all out and how cannabis can pair with each stage of death and dying. So that's a little bit of history, and I'm sure you've got a lot more to add, Kathleen, because you've been a hospice nurse much longer than I have. I was a hospice nurse for 5 years ago. And so you've been in the space where you've seen this, you work this every day as a case manager. So let's talk about your experience and your history with hospice.
My experience with hospice was my grandfather was put on hospice care, and they taught me everything that I needed to know how to take care of him. And they said I was a natural and that I just needed to become a nurse and do this. And I actually became a nurse to become a hospice nurse. And I was the only one in my class, and even my instructor said nobody becomes a nurse to become a hospice nurse. And it was so, I was like, I understood why I did it. I did not get the gift of goodbye with my sister or my father, and I was able to give the gift of goodbye to many, many people. And that right there, it's a hard road to take. When you talk about death and dying, and people are like, oh my gosh, I know I'm going to die. I have this disease. I have a limited number of days. Wrapping their head around the fact that goodbye is a gift is hard,
Mm,
because sometimes the road that they are walking is really hard and heavy, and they don't think of it as a gift. Whereas when somebody dies instantaneously, you don't get that. It's an immediate
exactly.
break. Yes.
Yeah. I
And
agree
what
with
I
you. And I
learned,
found, go
sorry,
ahead.
what I learned in death is that it is as intimate as birth.
Yes.
And it's just such an amazing space to be in. The things that you get to see, the the husband and wife that were married when they were 16 and 17, and now they're, elders, and he wants to give her her last bath, and to be able to witness that and to be there and help him is just such amazing space to hold and be privileged to be a part of.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. I really like that. The gift of goodbye, right? It is a gift. Time, the gift of time, right? And to be able to have that quality time at the end of life is absolutely precious. The first two patients that I worked with in hospice while doing cannabis, it was very, very interesting, the two different stories and the outcomes. So one of the patients, they both had terminal cancer, stage 4. One of them was stage 4 lung cancer, the other one was stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And it was amazing at the time that I was able to go see them in their homes and how different their cases were and how different cannabis worked in their life and what the outcome was. So the man's house that I went to, that stage 4 lung cancer, he lived for only 2 more weeks. But his sister, who was a nurse practitioner, said the last 2 weeks of his life were probably more pleasant and pleasurable than the past 5 years of his life suffering with cannabis. So he was able to have those feel good moments. And he was using full extract cannabis oil, Rick Simpson oil. And we got him on a regimen, and he was able to, be present, be mindful, sit with people, do that legacy work, have that gift of a goodbye with his sister and some of his friends who he was not able to interact with because he was sick, suffering, and dying. So cannabis allowed him to settle in to the space of being able to be around people that loved him, that wanted to give him the gift of goodbye. And he was able to sit in their presence and to be able to do that legacy work. So I think that I just totally agree with what you said about this, how it is a gift. And then the one other patient, so I'll just talk about the other patient, had a very different outcome. This other patient too was given only a month to live. And, same thing. It was just going to be using cannabis not as a curative, but just as a palliative, using it as a way to decrease suffering and to improve her quality of life at the end of life. Well, her outcome was very, very different. She's still alive today, right? So the little bit of cannabis that she took, was able to regulate her endocannabinoid system in such a way that it caused the anti-proliferative, anti-angiogenesis, anti-metastatic, and apoptosis in her body. And she has now been cancer-free for 3 years. And she's in the little video. I'm going to probably put up the little video of her at the end so you can see her and what that's all about. So let's dive into your parents, because this is another example as to why and how it's really, really, really important that you know your medicine, that you know the cannabinoid profiles, the terpene profiles, and why you might want to select or choose a method of administration, as well as the type of cannabis product that you're going to consume, at the end of life. So let's get into your parents really quickly, because I think this is really important. We celebrate. I just want to say thank you for being open and vulnerable to share your personal story about your family.
Thank you. I do want to say hospice is about how do you want to live? And a lot of people think the hospice is about giving up. But as you
Right.
mentioned, the 5 years that this man suffered when he didn't need to, I mean, cannabis could have helped him a lot sooner. But then hospice is also that extra crutch. And so we have the two most controversial topics in the world, hospice and cannabis. They go
Right.
well together to help. It's all about living your best life till your last breath, and they can both help do that. So, with that, yes, my father had high stress and he turned to alcohol. And we know the detriments that alcohol can cause. And he died of a widowmaker heart attack at age 44. And it was a shock to everyone. I was very young at the time. And I feel like had he had the opportunity to understand what we do now, that the lifestyle, how to manage stress, incorporating a CBD product to help decrease anxiety and decrease the overall inflammation in the body. I find it amazing how many people just don't understand the benefits of CBD and how it can help our
Oop,
support
you just
our body everyday mode. And where I tell patients to use the THC as their as needed medication, but to give that baseline of CBD to help support our overall body and health. And I think had he had that option, life would have been a lot different for him. I think
Yeah.
it would have been a lot healthier.
Yeah, and that's the part too, is even so you have at the end of life too, you know, these multiple medications, and how CBD can actually make a lot of the things that people are taking work better, right? And so they don't need as much. And I like CBD too. I look at CBD as the great influencer. It influences the other cannabinoids and the other terpenes, right? It's like CBD acts on 63 molecular targets in our body. It indirectly affects the endocannabinoid system and directly affects all of those other neurotransmitter signaling systems. So CBD is great, and I completely 100% agree with you. It should be a supplement that we take. It should be the staple. It should be our base. And then we add in supplement with THC products,
Yes.
to give that well-rounded balance.
And that being said, we have to be careful with heart disease and high blood
Mhm.
pressure because we know that THC can affect that. THC can increase your heart rate. So when we have a cardiac patient, we definitely want to look at their medications and let them know the risk versus the benefits. And
Yeah.
the risks are minimal, but you have to let them know so that they don't have that what's going on with my heart thing if they do
Yes.
decide to introduce THC
Yes.
to their
And so for
system.
the You're right. And so for the new people, the reason why the heart rate picks up is because cannabinoids are a vasodilator, right? So what happens is it opens up your blood vessels, your blood pressure drops a little bit, and the heart rate increases as a compensatory mechanism because we need to get oxygen-rich blood to our brains, right? And so if your blood pressure gets too low, your heart's like, "What the heck? What are you doing? It's time to beat faster. It's time to beat faster. I need to get that oxygen rich blood to other areas of my body." And so, if people do have a compromised cardiac system, that can be detrimental. You know what I mean? So, and generally, and that's why we talk about microdosing and we talk about how we need to consume cannabinoids. You don't need a big, huge, giant blast, right? You don't. Microdosing, we want to mimic our own endocannabinoid system by showering on our umbrella, right? We want to provide just a little bit, very similar to eating, that glycemic index. You have a steady state of glucose going through your system to nourish all of your cells. Well, look at it the same way. Microdosing cannabinoids to nourish your endocannabinoid system, the most important system in our body. And so it's really, really all about safe and smart consumption. Yeah, good one, Kathleen. Good topic.
And then
mom.
Yes. My mom had emphysema, or end-stage COPD, and that is it's a long disease process, and it takes a lot of energy, and it takes a lot of weight from you. And mom started losing a lot of weight and got down to in the low 90s, 90 into 88 pounds. And so she was tiny. And fortunately for her, in our state, there was legal cannabis, and introducing that to her in a tincture form. We started her out on the low dose CBD, and it didn't quite do what we wanted it to do. So we introduced the microdosing of the THC, 2.5 milligrams in a tincture form that she held in her mouth and then swallowed. It definitely helped decrease her anxiety, which was extraordinarily high with the not being able to breathe. You can imagine that the one thing that sets off anxiety more than anything is when we can't breathe. And so she struggled with that, and her breaths were short. So that helped decrease her anxiety with that. It helped decrease her breathing in a way where, not like an opioid, but it because it decreased her anxiety, she wasn't breathing as fast. So it was kind of like, she could take a breath and relax a little bit, and her breath wasn't going 90 to nothing. It also increased her appetite, where she started eating more, and actually gained about 5 or 6 pounds. So it was really for her in the end. And I wish that she would have been more open to it earlier.
Right. Yeah. But you kind of just, you're in and out right there, Kathleen. Are you back? There you are. Hi.
Yes.
You're just wrapping up with your mom a little bit about how she was taking tinctures, well, this is it too, the breathing. I'm going to bring up the breathing a little bit. When I worked with hospice patients, and patients were having the difficulty breathing and shortness of breath, I made them try to understand, if you're having discomfort breathing, that's pain. Right. And so you have the capability. So it's really about, improving their quality of life. They're huffing and puffing, and, it produces anxiety, can produce pain. Difficulty breathing can produce pain. So having all of these mental, emotional, spiritual pain, and how cannabinoids work as a pleiotropic that work on multiple different organ systems, physiological systems, all at the same time. That's the miracle of this plant, doing multiple things. Yeah. And really, being able to help your mom in a way, and that's amazing that she was able to get, be able to decrease her anxiety, and to be able to, eat a little bit, and to have that quality of life a little bit at the end. Yeah.
Definitely. I was thankful for that opportunity for her. It definitely helped make her comfort.
Yeah. A lot better. Oh. Thank you so much for sharing that story, really, really that story, right now, my parents are getting older, and, we're starting to have those conversations about how do you want to live your life at the end of life. And, for me, it's all about safety. And if you want to stay home, you need to start making some decisions. And so having those discussions is really, really hard. And that's where cannabis can come in to help us do that legacy work, right? Let me tell you, when I started talking about death and dying with my mom, she's like, "What are you trying to kill me?" I'm like, "No, I'm not trying to kill you." I said, "Listen, if I was trying to kill you, I'd let you do what you're doing right now." Because I'm telling you, you definitely are on that banana peel, and you're heading into that grave a lot faster than I'd like to see you. So, basically cannabinoids are really, really interesting in helping us to have those delicate conversations that may be uncomfortable. So, thank you so much for sharing, your story. It really means a lot to me, opening up your heart to the public and sharing that. So I am going to, I know, I love you, Kathleen. I can't wait to see you and give you a hug. Yeah. So as we wrap up today, peace begins with me. And another place where you can get some peace is in the Green Nurse Holistic Caring community. Really, really great. We are creating an ecosystem of patients, providers, and programs. We are bringing in global providers, chiropractors, doctors, acupuncturists. We have 2 pharmacists in the group, a pediatric pharmacist and another pharmacist. And we're just doing some really fun stuff in the group. It's off of social media. It's private. It's uncensored. A free introductory to cannabis course, free patient portal and support group. And Elizabeth wrote this really cool book, Cannabis Health, Become a Coach. And this is for everyone. It's about us becoming our own coaches, right? And learning how we can take care of ourselves. We are our own best friends. There's no one more important than you. And it's important that you get to know your body, the meat suit that houses your soul, right? So you got to take care of it, right? You only got one. That's it. You can't trade it in this lifetime. And so it's our job to take care of it. So join us in the community. We have a lot of great things going on. Kathleen is part of the community as well. She's one of our nursing supervisors, and we're really, really excited, to blow this up and out of the water. Green Nurse Holistic Caring, come and join us. Really, really excited. And I'm just going to end the show with another little video. And this video that I'm going to be including right now for the end has a little segment from that woman that I took care of, the second hospice patient that I took care of in her home. Her name is Marta, and she had stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And in this little video clip here, she's going to share a little bit about it. So let me get that in here. Here we go.
We're here to educate and empower patients to make choices that are best for them. We're also here to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high. Hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing. The Green Nurse is a holistic cannabis nurse that teaches on the endocannabinoid system and the safe utilization of cannabis and other progressive tools to help people reach a better quality of life.
I was cannabis agnostic for many, many years. And the more research I did, the more I discovered that cannabis is this amazing medicine.
I was told that I had a 4-stage pancreatic cancer. The doctor really told me he couldn't do anything else. He gave me her name and she called me and she came to my house. She started to give me cannabis. My oncologist was puzzled because he couldn't find the cancer anymore.
All of the learning that we get comes from the Green Nurses group, comes from their support, comes from their guidance. I trust everything that she says.
Simply meet people where they're at. The plant doesn't, stress to grow, so we don't stress to share it. We're healing people.
Cannabis has been used as a medicine for tens upon thousands of years. Here's the big message. Cannabis needs to be federally legal. We need to have laws that are the same across all 50 states that allow access to anyone and everyone who wants to utilize this powerful medicine.
All right, everyone. And that is a wrap. Thank you so much for joining us on this Fun Fact Friday. Kathleen, so grateful that you were here with us today. And remember, everyone, what it's all about. It is about living your best life and helping others do the same. We love you.
We love you.